Hello and welcome back to the video on the rest of and to another edition of AEW Dynamite Out of 10. And the Continental Classic continued on the show with the former world champion Moxley, the Red Hot Swerve and former top contender Jay White all in action. And yeah, it all would be about who can set their case in the early stages. Danielson was on commentary, and we got the latest from Christian Cage. But we started things off with Moxley and Lethal. Moxley became the first competitor to 6 points, defeating Lethal in the opener. Lethal targeted the left knee of Mox, which had been damaged during a top rope suicida early in the match. But the former world champion fought through the pain and fended off his opponent, determined not to be shut out of the points. Mox earned a gritty victory. Lethal remained winless in the tournament, and all was right in the world, or something like that. But yeah, it gets a 7 out of 10 from me. I thought, it's a pretty predictable result. Lethal put up more of a fight than he did the other day, but Mox was always going to win this, and yeah, he's looking good in the early stages. We then got Mark Briscoe versus Rush in another one of the Continental Classic. Rush earned his first points of the match, defeating Briscoe in a match that was better than the opener and uber competitive at that. It was a hard-hitting battle between two men who showed appropriate amounts of urgency given the deficit they found themselves at. Rush was probably the right choice to win, and that particular outcome takes the ROH original and puts them in a hole winless in the tournament. Briscoe joins Lethal as the only competitors to compete twice and lose both matches. One will eventually win and does not necessarily do much for the legacy of the ROH brand. It's already seen its importance devalued over last year, and yeah, that's kind of my concern with this. While it wasn't a terrible match or anything like that, it's just that kind of you can see a clear path of where the group's going. It just makes me wonder whether it may not be too excited towards the end. But let's see where it all goes. But moving on into MJF, who hit the ring and cut a promo about his upcoming World Championship defence against Samoa Joe at World's End. Rather than insulting the number one contender, he instead put over Joe as a revolutionary. He bucked the trend and became a star in pro wrestling despite not looking like a typical wrestler. He credited Joe with proving alternatives could exist and went as far as saying AEW would not exist without his upcoming pay-per-view opponent paving the way. He vowed to go to Long Island regardless of his injuries and defend the title. Unknown Master Science then cut off the champ, leading to Joe making the save. A tight written message meant that two of them would be facing MJF and Joe in a tag match next week, which I'm very intrigued by, and yeah, that's something that's going to be really interesting. MJF's words about Joe were from the heart and did want to put him over in a way that could book him in matches could not. They were words of respect that heightened the significance of the competitor to the history of the wrestling, properly setting up to potentially dethrone him at World's End. But yeah, that's going to be a very interesting match, and I thought they built to it really nicely in all aspects. We then had Wardlow taking on AR Fox, and Wardlow squashed Fox in a match that was more competitive than we have seen out of the War Dog since his return, but amounts to the same thing we've seen out of him. Nothing was advanced, and Wardlow was not enhanced in any meaningful way. With everything going on in MJF, he's currently suffering from at this point. There's reasons to be concerned that Wardlow could once again find himself in a holding pattern. Not great for a guy who's pushed to just start and stop, but yeah, we kind of need to see something else with Wardlow. With MJF potentially injured too, when's it going to happen if he goes way off for Worlds? And yeah, it's many questions, but yeah, just do something with Wardlow, please, because he's bloody brilliant. We then got 6-man action, Top Flight and Action Andretti taking on the Hardys and Brothers A. Dante and Darius got the win with Andretti. The victory was a momentum builder for the young trio and a momentous occasion for Dante, who of course making his Dynamite return after that sickening leg injury suffered at Supercard of Honor. The right team went over at the return of Martin. At one point he was one of the most exciting young stars on the roster, and fingers crossed he can re-establish himself as one of the great high-flying underdogs in the company. It appears he's destined to work in a tag team for the time being, easing back in, and rather than pressuring him to put it on himself. And you can't complain about that. The Hardys, of course, a great person for him to be put over with in his first match back. So yeah, you can't complain about it all. 6 out of 10 from me. Before it's time for the TBS title match, Julia Hart versus Emi Sakura, and Julia Hart revised the house rules gimmick in which her opponent was allowed to choose a stipulation, and Emi ruled that there could be no victory via submission. It was an expert decision by Sakura, who took some of the Hart's most devastating manoeuvres out of her arsenal and forced the champion to take the sky to achieve victory, and she did just that, landing a moonsault that did not get all of Sakura, who appeared to try and roll out of the way. Hart covered and secured the win. The crowd greeted the outcome with a positive reaction, and the champion continues to survive. A solid if unspectacular bout, it highlighted a young talent that reintroduced the house rules gimmick, which brings a different element to Hart's matches. But yeah, it gets a 6 out of 10 from me. I thought it was solid stuff. Good win for Julia Hart. Sakura, I think she does a great job putting people over. We get to see her getting some wins too, but Hart getting the job done. 1 week after Copeland challenged Christian Cage for a shot at the TNT title next week on Dynamite, the champion requested his former friend and tag partner came to the ring. Cage attempted to sweet talk Adam, talking about him on his journey and their long service together before trying to convince the Hall of Fame to reunite him for one last time for his late mother. Copeland responded with a low blow and some blunt profanity to wrap up another great segment, but another showcase for Christian Cage and his brilliant character. For in a moment it looked like he was going to play the dead dad card. He thought better of it, only to still play it in the end. Copeland v Cage is a huge main event and a must-see match in Montreal next week. And yeah, one for sure. I think everyone will be wanting to tune in because the showground's been excellent so far. Before it's time for Jay White versus Strickland in our main event, and Swerve joining Moxley on 6, defeating White in a main event that was fantastic. The two demonstrated chemistry and crafted the match, and both were allowed to shine pretty much from the beginning through Matt White reversals, counters, culminating with Strickland out wrestling White for the grueling win. The match was a great showcase for the two budding faces of AEW, one by arguably the hottest guy in the company outside of MJF. The look on White's face after the referee call for bells suggests he's about to become more dangerous than ever, as desperation will lead him to really go for it in pursuit of the Triple Crown Championship. And that's exactly what these tournaments should be presiding to. So yeah, I thought this worked really nicely, and I thought this was a fantastic main event, and one that I want to see more of in this tournament. But anyway, guys, overall AEW Dynamite gets a 7 out of 10 from me. I thought a really fun episode of AEW Dynamite, the Continental Classic starting to take shape, some of the other programs as well, Edge and Christian, or Copeland and Christian, were really, really solid, and gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Good stuff. But anyway, guys, that's it for video. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe. If you do wrestling news and subscribe to the channel, it's going to be greatly appreciated. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.